Hi, my name is Jason Snipes. I'm a senior researcher at MDRC. I'd like to talk with you for a few minutes about some research MDRC is doing on important education reform efforts in several large urban school districts across the country. First, I'll describe why urban school districts are important, as well as some of the key challenges they face. Then, I will focus in on a set of reform efforts that appear to hold real promise for raising student achievement in urban school systems. Finally, I'll talk briefly about the research we plan to do next. Large urban school districts play a crucial role in educating America's children. Of the nation's 17,000 school districts, the largest 100 serve more than one-fifth of the nation's 47 million public school children. These districts, most in or near the nation's cities, also serve nearly a third of all poor children and 40% of all minority children educated in this country. So how well these urban districts meet the challenges they face as school systems has an important impact on the education of our nation's children as a whole. Among the key challenges facing our nation's schools is what is commonly referred to as the minority achievement gap. That is, the gap between how well white students and minority students do in school. Addressing the challenges faced by these large urban school systems is crucial if we are to successfully address these achievement gaps. Yet, while there is a great deal of research on what makes an effective school, there is little research on what makes an effective district, and less on the specific issue of identifying promising ways for school districts to reduce racial disparities in student achievement. Now, in order to begin filling this gap, MDRC partnered with the Council of the Great City Schools, an organization representing the nation's 60 largest school districts. Together, we embarked on a study of 4 large urban school districts that have made progress in improving student achievement and reducing racial achievement gaps. To add context to our investigation, the study also included 2 comparison districts that had not made similar progress. We are at an early stage in this work, and these findings are not definitive. However, we think they're important enough to share with you now. A fuller discussion of these findings can be seen in the report Foundations for Success, written by MDRC for the Council of Great City Schools. Several key themes emerge from this study. To begin with, large urban school districts confront a common set of formidable challenges. First, political instability and a lack of consensus among political leaders on how to achieve school reform. Second, a multitude of often conflicting curricula and instructional programs used to teach students across the district. This problem is often compounded by a lack of consistent instructional guidance from the central office. Third, an inadequate supply of qualified and experienced teachers, and a concentration of the most junior and least qualified teachers in schools serving poor and minority children. And fourth, high levels of student mobility, with poor and minority students especially likely to move frequently from school to school within the district, as well as in and out of the district itself. Another important theme from this study is that the more successful districts gradually found a set of relatively consistent strategies for addressing many of their political and organizational challenges. For example, they built a coalition of political leaders from within and outside the district focused on improved student achievement. They then developed a shared vision for reform and an agreed-upon reform strategy aimed at improving student achievement above all other goals. The successful districts also refocused the role of the school board, away from the district's day-to-day management and toward goal setting and accountability for results. Full responsibility for day-to-day operations shifted back toward the superintendent, who was held personally responsible for progress in raising student achievement. A final theme, and we think this is critical, is that the more successful districts, independently of one another, adopted a common set of strategies for improving instruction. They adopted district-wide, relatively tightly specified, uniform curricula and instructional approaches for elementary level reading and math. They provided intensive training and support for teachers and principals in the implementation of these approaches, and they demanded thorough adoption of these instructional approaches throughout all schools in the district. These districts also use test data to carefully monitor student progress towards state standards. Importantly, they did this at regular intervals throughout the school year, not just at the end of the school year. They used these test data to provide detailed feedback on student performance to teachers, principals, and central office staff, and trained them in how to use this information to improve instruction. They concentrated on low-performing schools and on elementary schools because it was at these schools and at the elementary level that many achievement problems seemed to originate. Finally, they provided special incentives such as public recognition or increased pay designed to improve the qualifications of teachers and principals in schools serving high proportions of low-income and minority students. While each of these strategies might be considered important on its own, the leaders in these districts felt strongly that the progress they achieved flowed from the interaction of these initiatives and the effort to reform the school system as a whole. In short, there was no silver bullet, and the whole of reform was greater than the sum of its parts. These patterns suggest a set of exciting and important hypotheses about reform in urban school districts. Although they're not definitive, they point the way to even more important research focused around several key questions. First, does the use of uniform prescriptive curricula for elementary school reading and math instruction, set at the district level, combined with focused training, guidance, and reinforcement for this approach from the central office, lead to improved student learning? If so, does this approach have a particularly positive effect on disadvantaged and minority children? Second, does using assessment data to provide ongoing, timely, and detailed feedback to teachers and principals about student progress, combined with training on how to use the feedback to improve instruction, improve teaching practice and student achievement, and increase the effectiveness of these instructional reforms? Third, do incentives aimed at increasing the supply of qualified teachers in schools serving poor and minority students actually lead to changes in the characteristics of teachers in these schools? And fourth, do these changes in teacher characteristics or quality lead to changes in teaching practice and improve student achievement at these schools? MDRC and its partners are currently at work developing research that can reliably answer these critical questions. We are encouraged by what we've learned so far, and we invite you to stay tuned for more results. Thank you very much.